Hello. Good afternoon, everyone. Thank you for coming. Happy Biodiversity Day. My name is Mario Boccucci. I'm the head of the UNREDD Program Secretariat, the partnership of UNEP, UNDP and FAO to support countries and stakeholders deliver on forest climate solutions. A really big thank you to all of you for making the time to come here on a very busy day. Big thank you to a fabulous panel with leaders and agents of change that have got their hands in the policies at the global country level, in the actions directly at the local communities. I will introduce all of them as they take the floor, but we have the government of Norway, government of UK, government of Ghana, and a representative of indigenous peoples. It's so good to see so many familiar faces and also many people we haven't met before. So let me very quickly introduce the purpose of this event, which is co-organized by the UK and the UNREDD program. You see there's a long version of the title, Increasing Access to Forest Carbon Finance, Supporting Countries Getting Ready for REDD+ and LEAF. But really, why are we here? Because we would like to speak about the two most pressing priorities that we have been hearing at this COP and at the previous COP. These two most pressing priorities are finance and capacity building. And to deliver finance and capacity building at scale, we have to work in partnership. So these are the ingredients for this event, which we will explore. And as we get into the discussion, just a very quick reflection on how important is the moment in which we find ourselves, how privileged we are to be at a point that is a pivot moment for forest. For many, many decades, we have been working to promote goodwill, commitments, negotiations, pilots, and it was very, very important to get to where we are today. But today, and I think we can start counting from COP26 in Glasgow, we are seeing a pivot. We are moving from an era of commitments into a decade of actions that must be massively scaled up. And I'm saying this because, of course, when we come to COP, we tend to be drowned under by, the complexity of the negotiations, the stress of not seeing things moving with sufficient speed. Well, my sense is that the forest agenda, the forest space, thanks to all of the amazing agents of change that we have on panel and in here and around us and in the countries, the forest agenda is ready to hit the ground running and to deliver what is needed in terms of forest solutions for climate mitigation, adaptation, biodiversity, development, health. These are all the benefits that forests can deliver. So what we're going to do in the next 38 minutes, we're going to hear from colleagues, champions, who have been doing this work on the ground. And they're going to share their reflection on how can this acceleration take place and how can the UNREDD program support the work that everyone else is doing. I have a little flip chart so I stay on time. And so we're now going to start with Kate Hughes. She is the Director for International Climate Change in the Department of Energy, Business and Industrial Strategy, also known as BASE. Kate leads the team working on the long-term global transition to net zero. She oversees the International Climate Fund portion of BASE. As you know, it's a huge endowment, 11 billion pounds, and so a very powerful force to really promote that acceleration we've been talking about. So the question for you, Kate, is how has the UK has shown real leadership? We have seen it also in Glasgow. And what are the UK aims in terms of supporting forest countries to work towards REDD+ and LEAF? Kate, you have the floor.
Well, thank you so much for that question, and I think it's really exciting that we're here on Biodiversity Day and putting a real focus on forests and these programs as well. So thank you very much and welcome to the UK Pavilion. And I'm delighted to be here on this diverse panel as well, and thank you to my colleague from Norway, Orvon, for bringing some gender diversity to the panel. It's great that it is so mixed and from a range of different backgrounds as well, because I think it's really important as we talk about these issues to make sure that we are representing a range of different voices and hearing from different partners as well. So a huge thank you, and as you said, yeah, it's really strong female leadership on these issues with my colleagues to the right here as well, and I'm really looking forward to hearing from them and their perspectives too. So the UK has been a long-standing supporter of work on stopping deforestation, halting and reversing, but also a really long-standing supporter of REDD+ as well, particularly through our climate finance programs, and also with our partners in Norway and Germany, who we work with really closely on these issues, and of course in the UNFCCC negotiations as well, where this is critically important, and some good progress was made last year as well. And the UK last year at COP26 put nature and forests at the heart of the negotiations and the cover decision, because we realised how important that was to delivering 1.5 degrees, how important it was for us to collaborate together in these areas, because we are not going to reach 1.5 degrees without working together, and we are not going to get to 1.5 degrees if we aren't addressing deforestation and land use. We all know that to be true. I'm sure that's all why you are here as well. And that's why we have committed out of our climate finance at least £1.5 billion directly towards supporting countries in their efforts to reduce forest loss, while also securing livelihoods and resilient communities as well. And we've been supporting REDD+ with over £320 million as well for that specific results-based finance. But we know we need to build on that momentum that came through last year from COP26 for forest protection and the Glasgow Leaders Declaration, where so many world leaders stood up and said that they were going to halt and reverse forest loss as well. And that's why I'm also really pleased that we've launched the Forest Climate Leaders Partnership as well, and we had the first meeting working very closely with Ghana and the US on this as well, who are showing real leadership there. So in terms of LEAF, and I've worn my special LEAF trousers as well in recognition of how important LEAF is to us, we have put in £200 million into LEAF, because this is our commitment, because we see how important that public-private partnership is, and the importance of bringing private finance into supporting reducing deforestation. And it's £175 million of results-based payments and £25 million on technical assistance, so that we can help countries to meet those eligibility criteria, but also on the social safeguards side as well. And we are a really proud partner with UNREDD as well to deliver that technical assistance to forest countries, because we know how important that is if we are going to reduce deforestation and help access the finance, which otherwise can be quite complex and difficult to access. I mean, I'm sure if you ask the person on the street what do they know about REDD+, you wouldn't get much of an answer. We know it's a complex and technical area. And our main effort in REDD+, and reflecting what we've heard from forest countries and communities about what's most needed, a couple of things. So first, we need to scale the use of high integrity supply side standards. That integrity is absolutely critical to us, including those social and environmental standards within that. If results-based finance is going to work effectively and equitably, we've got to have high integrity on both the supply side and the demand side of that transaction. And that's means that we've got to ensure the safeguarding, protecting of indigenous peoples and local communities and listening to them when we develop the consultative benefits sharing parts of these different frameworks. So that's number one. Second, we want to continue to support those enabling conditions for REDD+, including providing that upfront finance for implementation costs and through investments in governance, livelihoods, business innovation and supply chains. And the other day we were here as well talking about REDD early movers and how fast that's developed as well in this space to make sure that we are out there helping countries to do more. And finally, we want to mobilise significantly greater finance for REDD+, through both public donors, critically important, but also really important through private finance as well. We know that the finance is, the donor finance as well, is a drop in the ocean to what's required, but we need to start here, show what can work, and then we can build from there to increase this as well. And listening to stakeholders and working together so that we design this in the right way, that it can work on the ground for the countries that need this as well. And as I said, putting indigenous communities at the centre of this is critically important to us, that we safeguard those livelihoods and protect those communities as well. Donor approaches must be complementary, and if we do that, we can align and we can make sure that we are supporting REDD+ through all those different stages as well. So thank you. Hopefully that gives you a sense of what we think is important and why we are invested in this, both as a government, both kind of philosophically invested in this as well as financially invested. Thank you.
Thank you, Kate. That was fabulous. Not only give us an idea of what you are thinking, but I think this is a very powerful game plan for all of us who are engaging in the space. It was really great to hear how your game plan has been built, building on the feedback and the inputs from all stakeholders. So that's excellent to hear, and of course, as UNREDD, we look forward entering into a closer partnership with BASE. With this, we go to our next speakers, Pasang Dolma Sherpa, a good friend and colleague for many of us. Pasang is also the Executive Director of the Center for Indigenous Peoples Research and Development, CIPRED, based in Nepal. And as you all know, Pasang has been a powerful and dedicated voice for indigenous people in her home country, in a region, globally. Pasang has also been a fabulous member of the UNREDD board. And with that, I have the pleasure to give you the floor. Thank you, Pasang.
Thank you, Mario. Thank you, Is it okay? Does it work? Okay. Thank you, Mario, and my great pleasure to be here. Tashidile, namaskar, good afternoon, everyone. My great pleasure to be among our distinguished panelists and speakers. Wonderful to be here. Happy Biodiversity Day. I really appreciate Kate Hugh, remarks on how the emphasis from the government of UK on safeguarding and and protecting the traditional livelihoods of indigenous peoples, especially in the REDD architect. And thank you so much. I really appreciate. As Mario says, I was also one of the board members. Almost for 4 years, we worked together for long, and when the REDD+ was really initial phase. So that was a really learning part for us. And I personally experienced REDD+ is one of the opportunities for indigenous peoples, especially discussing our issues and concerns, and also familiarizing what is the really ground reality, and how can we have indigenous peoples, local communities, women's and youth voice, especially on the ground level, to be reflected in the safeguards and also in the architect of the REDD+ implementation. And then also, this is also another opportunity because the REDD+ also consider the social environmental safeguards, especially in line with all the international treaties and conventions, including the Paris agreements and also UNREDD and the ILO. So that were the concerns about how we respect the traditionally managed lands, resources, livelihoods, and the continuation that has also been mentioned in the Article 26 of the UNREDD. However, despite we have all the provision in line with international treaties and conventions, the indigenous people safeguard issues, especially dealing with the social environmental issues, still remained in one of the corner, and still there has been challenges of recognition of the role and contribution, especially the customary governance system. The customary governance system, especially led by customary institutions, role is very important because the customary institution is the basis for our knowledge, our values, our, our whole connection with the forest and ecosystem. Therefore, it is very important that, in the name of the architect of the REDD+, it is very important to acknowledge the role and contribution of indigenous people, local communities, youth, and the women. And I'm here with my sister Rose from Ghana, because we are wearing different hats. Now we are also in the board of the Art Architect REDD+ transaction, and which is also one of the very promising indicators, standards for safeguarding our issues and concerns, and also that has been also accepted as one of the safeguard standards to be met by the LIV. So here, because of our past learning in the FCPF and UNREDD, in the LIV Architect, it is also, I believe, it's an opportunity for us to, learn from our experience and improve further, and dealing with the challenges, get the opportunity to, after that. And that's how we can move ahead, and especially recognition of our roles and contribution, because that is basis for all the basis for the sustainable management of the resources, ecosystem, and biodiversity. Therefore, I really urge here all the distinguished panelists and also the donor agencies, bilateral, multilateral agencies, and dear friends here, that it's very important that we build the level of awareness and capacity of all the relevant stakeholders, and including indigenous peoples and local communities, and also played a very crucial role for the recognition of a customary governance system, and also our role and contributions. And through and also very important for scaling of the financing to indigenous people and local communities for protection, promotion, and recognition in line with all the important role of the stakeholders, including the government agencies at all levels. So that's how we can protect our knowledge, our values, culture, and that's how we can continue our roles by a future generation. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Thank you so much, Pazang. As always, a very powerful, strategic but concrete reflection on how indigenous people and local communities' role is of fundamental importance, and the importance of empowering. And again, I think I also appreciated the fact, the importance of learning together, because there's a lot of learning we have to do, and we have to do it together. Thank you again. Now we're moving to our next panelist, and it's my pleasure to call on Roselyne Foswa-Ajay. She is the Director for Climate Change at the Forest Agency of Ghana, and very well known to everyone for her amazing leadership for many years, not only getting to Ghana a result-based payment, the Green Climate Fund, FCPF, LIV, okay. And lately also being the Sherpa for the Forest and Climate Leadership Partnership. So a person who's really walked the talk from the policy level to the delivery level, and also a great pleasure to have Roselyne as a member of the UNREDD Program Executive Board. Roselyne, you have the floor. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Mario. And after such an introduction, I really need to watch my words because the expectations are high, I believe. Thank you so much, Mario. Always a pleasure to be with you, and a very good afternoon to everybody gathered here, or evening. And today I'm very happy because I've had two indigenous community reps, or group reps. I have Pasan here, call me her sister, and then also Juan Carlos, who I believe most of you know, also call me his sister. It shows that we are really breaking the barriers. I work with government. I do not work with an indigenous group. But clearly, fostering partnerships and beginning to understand each other's language is beginning to tell, not just behind closed doors, but in front of you all. And I think that's where we want to go to eventually in this forest discussion, where we have a lot of diverse interests amongst local communities, indigenous people, government, private sector, but we should have a collective action to drive home the forest agenda. And that's what Ghana has focused on since 2008, when we began our REDD Plus programming. And it's been a long journey, 14 years. Today we have proudly been able to validate and verify our very first REDD Plus issuance under the Carbon Fund. And we are waiting for the World Bank to make payments. Kate is here. The UK government is part, Norway is part, so we are really waiting on you to make those payments. Because it's been a long journey. But beyond making those payments and what we've really come to understand in Ghana, and it's a huge lesson that we are transitioning into live with, and where we see that we need capacity and we also need donors, both from the sovereign state side and also from the corporates, to realize is that to generate a ton of carbon is beyond the price for resource-based payments as it is now. And we need to get into the infrastructure, the governance arrangements for trickling down payments to beneficiaries. In Ghana, our benefit sharing plan indicates that 69%, and this was through consultations, of our ER payments should go directly to local communities because they have generated, or they will generate, the most of the carbon, and whether we are going to have leakage or permanence depends on their commitment to the program. And so 69%. But 69% is up there. How do we get 69% to go down? And that's where we are very, very grateful to the World Bank through the FCPF program, dedicating financing to work on these little bits or pieces of governance that are not directly tied to the ER payments. And recently, we've also had the German government commit to a new trust fund that is enable, enhancing access to benefits whilst lowering emissions, that is providing grant financing to strengthen local capacity, governance arrangements to implement the benefit sharing plan. REDD Plus, with its carbon benefits, is new within the sort of forest governance mandate that national governments have had already. And if we need to bring everybody along, we should look at the infrastructure that delivers the payments to local communities and indigenous people. And Ghana is hugely investing in this. We have what we call the funds flow mechanism from the national level. When REDD Plus payments come in, how does the normal local person receive these payments, and how does it become tangible in their efforts? How does it boost confidence to keep engaging on issues of forest management? So as we have these huge commitments going out, Kate mentioned some fantastic figures. We believe that there is still room to do more. It shouldn't just focus on the resource-based payment side, and that's what we are actively sort of championing also under LEAF, and receiving the support of the UNREDD. Now we have UNREDD program, the program supporting us to work on benefit sharing arrangements on how the LEAF architecture would look like. It's not part of the promised $10 eventually when we're able to generate. We're also looking at our stakeholder engagement structure. We are working on safeguards, and we believe that if this funding or this financing, these days I get confused because there's a different meaning for carbon payments, there's a different meaning for carbon financing, carbon funding, climate financing. In any case, maybe let me just say this money. It's all about money, and it's all about some cash somewhere. Let's see how that really is, that envelope is made bigger to achieve the governance structure. Without the governance structure, we will have a collapse. We are going to still keep coming to COP, and the real people who are generating the emission reductions will not see the value. And let's also foster cross-learning. There are countries that have been able to generate this governance structure. It's not perfect, but we have some starting points. Like Ghana, like Mozambique has also received, like Costa Rica. Can we foster cross-exchanges and learning to support each other, to have that network? Because I think increasingly we have all come to understand we need the collective action to champion the agenda of forest and to have it feature in policy, and not just feature, but to be implemented at scale. And I wrap up by saying that that's why Ghana is also committed to the Forest and Climate Leaders Partnership. It's a privilege to be co-chairing. We are not going to be co-chairs forever, But what is very important is that we are part of the group beyond co-chairing, and we are really looking forward to how we can foster this partnership to deliver the Glasgow Leaders Declaration targets for 2030. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Thank you so much, Rosalind. And of course, right, you have demonstrated you deserved that introduction. And I think you have vividly explained the entire value chain within a country to deliver at scale and with speed, not forgetting that while the infrastructure is there, it needs to be filled and fueled with resources and with capacity at all levels. Thank you. That was a fabulous overview of what's ahead of us. Now we're turning to our next speakers. We have two more, and I think we are on time. Yep. And now we're going to Cambodia. I'd like to invite Paris Chop. He's the Under Secretary of State in the Ministry of Environment of Cambodia. He coordinates Cambodia's National REDD Plus strategy and the National Protected Areas Management Plan. And with that brief introduction, I would like to invite you to share your experience from Cambodia. And welcome.
And thank you. Ladies and gentlemen, today is my great pleasure to be here, to just to share something, some story about Cambodia on REDD Plus program. Taking this opportunity, I would like first to thank to the UNREDD program and then FCPF 1 and 2, that helped Cambodia in a long journey since 2010 till now. I would say that, for now, talking about the readiness phase, Cambodia done perfectly. It means National REDD Plus strategy done, FREL submitted, CIS done, and the system for verify the forest cover is also in place. So, because of the support from UNREDD program, FCPF 1 and FCPF 2. And I'm so happy that, now, the UK, support more on the UNREDD program, I would say that it's important thing, and then come to the right times that even Cambodia, we are successful, have a successful story on the voluntary carbon market, but we still, we still need the support from the technical assistance from our partner in order to make, like our previous speaker from Ghana, that you have to have a proper system, have a regulation, to be, how to say, to be reliable and then applicable, so that, benefit sharing will be come to the ground properly. If we're talking about the REDD Plus, we're always talking about how to protect the forest very well, how to protect the forest properly, one thing. But the important thing is, to enhance the livelihood of the local community and IPs there. Cambodians understand that if the local community, they have their more income, it means that their local economy will increase. So they will not to disturb the forest. They will love the forest, and then they will protect the forest. So that it is the point. It is the main point. So that, Cambodia always thinks on that. Based on the UNREDD program, FCPF support and assistance from JICA also, also Japan also help us. We come up with the successful in the voluntary carbon market in the two project size, so-called Kawisima and Northern Plains. We got the funding from, from the private sector, international companies abroad. Those money, those funding, almost 90% go back to the ground, go back to the project size. And then we focus mostly on the livelihood for the IPs there. So I think if the UNREDD program can continue, furthermore, I think it is a great opportunity, that's a great help to developing country, including Cambodia, so that very warmly welcome to the new program on UNREDD, and thank you.
And thank you so much, Dr. Chop. This was, again, another very concrete example of a country that has got the vision on what needs to be delivered. We were very happy as UNREDD to be one of the early supporters to Cambodia, but we're also very happy that many others came in. And so for me, Cambodia and your leadership has also been an example of how the country coordination of the external support, when it's done, really delivers a result. So thank you very much again. With that, we have our last but not least speaker, Øyvind Dahl. You will have realized that from my pronunciation I have several years of experience with Norway, and that's for a reason, because Norway has been, as you all know, at the forefront of supporting and promoting the REDD agenda for many, many, many years, and a believer in the value of the UN system in this space, complementing the World Bank, the multilateral development banks, because each one of us has a complementing role to play. So Norway has always been there to support, and we are very grateful for that. As an introduction for Øyvind, he's a senior advisor at the Norwegian Ministry of Environment and Climate. His work on REDD has included the role of an environment counselor at the embassy in Jakarta, and he's also managing Norway's NICFI support to the global NGO, as well as working with the youth movement, very important. Øyvind, you have the floor.
Thank you. We've been given many advices on how to have the microphone here, so please correct me if I'm doing it wrong. Thank you for having me. The big advantage of being last in the panel is, of course, that a lot of interesting topics have been covered already, and many points have been made that is important. And the disadvantage of being last in the panel is exactly the same thing. So I'm not going to try to copy some of some of the remarks from my colleagues. Just say that I'm sign up to both some of the experiences, but also some of the ambitions that have been mentioned already related to this. So let me refer a little bit to sort of Norway's experience with the two items that have been put on the agenda today, which is sort of technical assistance and finance. And in our mind, finance means results-based finance, because that's basically where we enter the picture. And as many of you know, that the results-based finance bit comes after, very often, a period of technical assistance. And that means that there needs to be a match between the two. Otherwise, there will be trouble. And that has been an important part of our motivation for supporting many different ways of making this match. And a large chunk of our support has gone through the UN system, and I can speak a little bit about that as well. But we have also chose to put not all the eggs in that basket, but also work directly with countries bilaterally through the phases from a TA phase, and pardon the acronym on that, and all the way to the results-based phase, the phase 3 of REDD+. So we have some experience with that, and I think some of the main lessons are relatively well known. But right now, in my experience, what we see is a confluence of many good things happening at the same time. And you mentioned already the Glasgow point in time, where we sort of reset a little bit of the, quite substantially, the political engagement on our agenda, where state leaders and business leaders and community leaders came together and actually made the same and firm commitment that is possible then to follow up through concrete action in the years to come. And what we've seen on the sort of the tails of that is also some very, very encouraging results from countries that have now what you would say achieved or delivered massive results in emission reductions as well. And my experience is, for the last few years, I've been lucky enough to work in Jakarta with the Indonesian government, and that has been a very sort of an enlightening and eye-opening experience in terms of looking at how a relatively long period of TA and, I would say, preparedness and engagement has now led to the possibility of the government of putting in place relatively strict and very effective policies and enforcements that is socially acceptable, that is politically acceptable, because they've taken the time to actually get the things right, rather than just pulling it off the shelf, some sort of solution that is produced sort of for many countries. So the tailor-making of this, and this is where the TA discussion becomes interesting, because the flexibility and the predictability and the sort of the national foundation on how it's designed is key to a success. And this is where I think I'd like to sort of commend both these countries for being very clear on how they define their needs, but also how the system that has been put in place to help and assist and support has been able to actually respond to those needs. And that is, I think that's part of the success story where we see that happening. And of course, it's going to take a lot of time to mention all the stakeholders who have been involved in this, but I think it is the width of everything that is happening that is the strength of and why we see some of these very, very encouraging results. What's happening now? Well, we are in a point in time where the finance bit becomes really, really interesting, bordering to almost digestible for the population at large, because now we have more sources. And you mentioned already that the donor money is just a small fraction of this. I think the main input comes from the nations themselves and their human capacity and financial resources. And then, of course, what we see now is coming is sort of the market bit of it from the private sector. And then the sheer scale of it becomes relevant and relative to the challenge in terms of transforming the economy, the rural economy in many, many countries. And this is where we now we need not to lose the sight of the design and the philosophy from the TA design in terms of making financial solutions that fits what the structure that has been built, but also that we move beyond that, simply because of the need for urgency, for transparency, but also for accountability and integrity in the results that has been made. And that's why the new structures on finance now is something that really needs to fit into the module that has been built. And I'd like to sort of just close with thanking and commending the efforts that has been made for so many of the providers of technical assistance and countries with actually tropical forests. We don't have that in Norway. We're very far from being tropical, but we've been happy to be a part of this journey for so many years and to learn. And I do think our awareness now of the problems at large is much higher also generally in Norway than it was when it started. And that's a small benefit that we get to enjoy. So thank you.
Thank you so much, Øyvind. Again, very clear. You presented, I think, a very rich ecosystem of needs and opportunities. You spoke to the need to find matching with the right instruments and tailoring, and also therefore to have a finance that is fit for purpose and speed. I'm just checking. I think we're doing well for time. Do we have in case there's, okay, I think we have a few minutes in case there's any comments, any reflection or call for. Very good. I'll go for we'll go in the order. Oh.
Yeah, Fiona Ryan from Forests Development and Climate in Australia. It's good to see these governments doing stuff that my government's not doing, and it's great to see the REDD Plus. The deforestation requires, multiple different layers and strategies and governance. But there's one thing that isn't flexible, and that's the price. That's $10 a tonne, as far as I know, in leaf. And you know, the head of UNEP today, in the Biodiversity Day, she said there should be, all carbon prices should be $30 a tonne. Anyway, that was her opinion. And, you know, it's $10 a tonne for results-based payments. And, you know, I've been in this a long time. I don't want to sound too cynical. I think it's great what these governments are doing. You know, they're putting some money in. But we might end up, if forest countries don't get their value for the sacrifices they are making, then we might end up with the old Soviets saying, you know, you pretend to pay us and we'll pretend to work, you know. And maybe that was a bit too harsh, but yeah, I'll just leave it at that. Thanks.
Thank you. Spot on, never too harsh. And we go to the next comment and question, and then if anyone would like to answer.
Okay, my name is Moses Sama. I'm the focal person for the Nigerian Red Plus program. I just want to commend the UNRED for this thinking of supporting countries to be REDD ready. And like the last speaker did say about technical assistance. For me, I look at technical assistance as what keeps a vehicle moving. Because if you get a brand new vehicle and you have a destination and for use, it's the continuous, you know, maintenance, servicing, and all of that that gives you the optimization of the vehicle. So we must, even for countries that have begun to benefit from result-based payment, you can't take away technical assistance from that. Otherwise, they will crash. No matter how it is, you need to change the oil of a vehicle. You need to begin to teach it the new science of what is happening. So this is fine. It's an idea that is beautiful because countries have come a long way and some have not started getting benefit for result payments. But there are some capacities that were not met even while they were waiting for to meet some of these new thinking. The Red Plus program is quite technical. It is something that is not a one-off thing. And even countries that have come this far, there are areas they are still not clear about. I was in one event that Sam Roslin talked about the institutions, you know, building the system to the local government. Building system and sustaining it needs continuous capacity enhancement, and it's very expensive. So we do hope that UNRED, that has been the initiator, and this is a landscape they understand well. They know partners that they have led to a point, and that they need to continue to support them while they look forward to eventual benefit from carbon. Because if you leave most countries where they are, then your effort is wasted because they have not reached, they have not touched their chest on the red line yet to say, oh, you got here. So we need to keep that, you know, support that capacity enhancement going until we get to where we can say, okay, we are reducing it because we know we are strong, but we will now always support in some areas. So that's all I needed to add. Thank you very much.
Yes, I thank you. Absolutely right. This is a very important testimony. You know, one cannot look only at the last mile. The whole journey requires support, and it's a journey that I think we have proved. You know, we know what the destination is. We started to take it, and we should not lose hope that we can take the full journey. But as you say, continuous support is of paramount importance. I just wanted to see if there's any other comment, and I think we have one more. Okay, and then we go back to any colleague.
Hello to everyone. My name is Gabriela. I'm the Red Focal Point from Chile. Mario, we've been working by the screen. Finally, I meet you in person. I really agree with you. It's been a really, really long time working in REDD. It's more than 10 years, at least in Chile. And I really want to know what happened with the safeguard, for example, because we have GCF safeguard, FAO safeguard, FCPF, and I can, ONU Mujeres, I can go and on and on and on. And what happened with this LEAF coalition, what happened with the arteries is going to be different. It's going to be more of them. We can use all the mechanisms that we already have, or we have to build another one, because it have to be another one is going to be really difficult. It's been 10 years. For the first time, we did the benefit sharing plan cycle, the first one, and it's been like planning 10 years, and now we already did this year, and we're going to have to change it if we apply again. That is one of my questions. And the other question is, what happened with the other kind of project that we already have? Because this is a jurisdictional approach, but what happened with the different project in the, I don't know, domestic market or voluntary market that we already have? That's my question. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much, Gabriela. Now, checking if there's anyone who would like to take the comment on price and on standards and on existing projects. Voila. Rosalind.
Thank you. Price is very important to me as a jurisdiction, and then also on the safeguards. So thank you so much for the comment on price. And Rocio is here. I've said this many times. Rocio from Emergent, who are working on the Leaf Coalition. It's even not $10, actually. For an FCPF country like Ghana, like Chile, it's not $10, because the FCPF practically owns the standard, the carbon funded framework. We don't pay for that. The FCPF takes you through the validation and verification. We don't pay for that. Now, within the voluntary system, under the Leaf Coalition, countries have to pay for validation and verification. We have to also pay to the Secretariat. We have to engage, for the use of the standard, that's what I mean. We also have to engage a financial intermediary who would also come in with some costs, I believe. So when you put all that together, it's actually not even $10. And that's the point that we have been making, that we need to get into an unpacking process to understand what the voluntary market is really delivering, and not just comparing $10 to $5 under the FCPF. And if you compare that way, for Ghana, we would say the FCPF has done an amazing job, because we went through readiness of over $8 million US. Then through the Forest Investment Program of another about $50 million US to pilot what results-based is going to look like and what interventions would work. Within the voluntary system and the Leaf, we don't have such a mechanism yet. So it's not even $10. And thank you so much that somebody raised somewhere today that it's about $30. I think it's even more. And $30 will be good for a start anyway. And if we really want to move from the discussion from capacity building, technical assistance, as Dr. Amar was saying, we need to get into what it takes to generate a ton of carbon within different scenarios, and even what integrity means. I mean, having a governance structure, having legislation, policy, that should all account for some extra to the price, because these things do not come cheap. Communities have gone through a long process. They still have to go through different processes, private sector, government. So we should unpack the pricing structure. What really accounts for $10? Who is driving this? And I think that is really a call for jurisdictions or for countries that are on the supply side. We have really sat down too much to allow demand to indicate the price, which I even think is an error in basic economics. Because when you have the commodity on the supply side, you drive the price, because the demand is there and you drive the price. It's not the other way around. So it's really a call on countries who are providing emission reductions or within the REDD Plus framework to understand what it is we are putting out there. And when you talk about REDD within the context of jurisdictional programming, I think it's fantastic. It goes beyond forest. For Ghana, we are talking about agriculture, because cocoa is in there. We are talking about energy solutions, livelihood opportunities, so integrated systems. It's huge. It's not just about forest, because this is a huge landscape. So thank you so much for that comment. And on standards, maybe UNREDD will help us, because different standards, different requirements, we need to migrate. Some are bigger than others, not in terms of quality, maybe just in terms of requirements or documentation, seriously. And these are areas that we still need help on. Thank you so much.
Thank you for the question. Most of the the difficult questions, been answered by Rose. So thank you for that one, because I'm not from the technical, backgrounds. But just to share the reflection, I think you are absolutely right, right? In the span of almost more than 10 years, I have experienced the journey of Red Cross in the past 15 years. I have already served as a participant committee to the World Bank almost for 6 years, and a board member and to the UNREDD almost for 4 years. So it's been like crossed already. I was just counting how many years, and it's already crossed 14 years. But it's still very unclear, no? It's still very learning phase, no? I think that is the process, no? We are learning by doing, no? We are every experience, every challenges, we try to take its opportunity and deal with that to make it the best out of it, right? And then also one part, there's a lot of safeguards are there, no? Like CESA, and also there are, I absolutely right, with the World Banks and also UNREDD. So there are so many, like a FAO, there are so many safeguards, no? But it's very important that somehow the sensitization on the role and contribution and the need of the maintenance of the safeguard is very important among all stakeholders. No, not having a safeguard is not that really important, but acknowledging the safeguard and importance of the safeguard is the most important, and that is where the gap is there. So in the journey of my own experience, so the safeguards, the acknowledgement, sensitization among all stakeholders is still need to be improved. No. I'm very happy to hear that Ghana 69% benefits is targeted to be on the ground, and also Cambodia you are targeting like 90%, and in Nepal we are targeting 80%. So this is a really remarkable kind of steps to flow of the carbon finance and the benefits on the ground. However, one challenge is we still have with the FCPF in the REDD Plus architect is the benefit sharing mechanism, especially for indigenous peoples and local communities. Because most of the architect of benefit sharing mechanism is passing through the legally recognized entities, and in the forest regime, including national park and conservation, where indigenous people are already struggling for continuation of the traditional livelihoods and protection of our values and culture, and because our institutions are not recognized, and there is a high likelihood that REDD Plus benefits going to the indigenous peoples is very low. No, so that are the space that we can improve further. No. And because Rose and me, we are also in the board of the REDD Plus transaction. So there is a powerful, very strong standards, no doubt, as I said earlier, that we have to learn from our past experience. And this standard is not just one standards to be ticked out when we implement this carbon financing, but these standards need to be acknowledged. Take it ownership for the implementation, for the sustainability, for the future of the implementation. If you don't have that acknowledgement, I mean, no matter how much you work, it will not be success. That is the past experience in the past 14 years. And finally, I would like to encourage that all the governments and also agencies that have been helping out in this carbon financing, that recognition of the institution is not the threat, but in fact is a helpful for the sustainability of the implementation of the REDD Plus architect. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you so much. And thank you so much to everyone. I'm very sorry we have to end. Because there's another event coming up, but just wanted to say that this is a microcosm of the type of conversations, discussions, both in terms of the actions and the specific decisions, as well in terms of the knowledge sharing. As UNREDD, we will have our board meeting on the 1st of December, where we'll also be discussing what type of capacity building and knowledge sharing is important. What we've harvested here today, we will bring into our board discussion, and hopefully we can continue to bring out the stories, the information, the knowledge that is useful, that you produce, and we help getting out. With this, I really would like to thank everyone who's been here, all the partners. Would like to thank Paris, Pasang, Rosalind, Kate, Oyvind, everyone, the organizer, Almas, everyone else. And it's been a real pleasure. Thank you very much. Goodbye.